Welcome back to the channel. If you clicked on this video, there's a pretty good chance you're struggling to figure out the best team for Lacrimosa. And honestly, I completely understand that feeling. Because when I first looked at her kit, I spent about 15 minutes staring at the screen, wondering who I was even supposed to pair her with. But after spending a lot of time researching, going through every skill, analyzing different character interactions, and testing out the strongest synergies, I finally narrowed it down to what I believe are the top 5 team comps for Lacrimosa in the current version 1.1 meta. And today, I'm going to break down everything, from builds and combos to rotations, and exactly when you should use each team in one single video. Sounds good? Then sit back, grab a drink, maybe some snacks, and stick around until the end, because this video is going to be a long one, but every minute will be worth it. But wait. Before we jump into the main content, if you find this video helpful, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. This channel is still new, and I'm currently working toward my first 1,000 subscribers. Every single subscription genuinely helps and gives me more motivation to keep creating content like this. All right, enough talking. Let's jump straight into it. Before we get into the team comps, you first need to understand why Lacrimosa is considered one of the strongest top-tier main DPS characters in the current meta. What makes her so powerful isn't just her raw damage output. Lacrimosa is an S-rank chaos character, and the real reason she's so broken comes from the combination of her nightmare stacks, continuous dot accumulation, and her tomato banquet passive. This passive can trigger an enormous amount of additional damage against targets that are affected by Discord after they've already been broken. In simple terms, if you set up the right conditions, Lacrimosa creates a chain of reactions that continuously amplify each other. You have Scorch from Chaos combined with Incantation, Nova from Chaos combined with Psyche, and Discord, with each reaction adding even more damage on top of the previous one. It sounds complicated at first, but don't worry, I'm going to break down each team one by one so you can clearly see how everything flows together in actual gameplay. Team number 1, Discord Quick Swap, Lacrimosa, Daffodil, Sakiri, and Haniel or Fadia. This is the team I've played the most, and honestly, it's the strongest team overall in the current meta. But it's also the hardest one to execute properly. Let me explain why it's so powerful. The core loop looks simple on paper, but it demands very fast reactions during actual gameplay. You use Daffodil to break the target and create a break state. Then Lacrimosa jumps in and continuously applies DoT to stack Nightmare on the enemy. After that, you trigger Discord through the Nova reaction provided by Haniel or Fadia. Sakiri acts as a buff machine. Her passive increases the entire team's ATK, while also helping maintain Scorch reactions through her interaction with Daichi, which further amplifies Lacrimosa's DoT damage. The result is a damage chain that feels like a domino effect. Scorch boosts the DoT. The DoT stacks Nightmare. Nightmare amplifies Discord damage. And then Discord gets amplified again through Lacrimosa's Tomato Banquet passive. It's such a beautiful chain of interactions that sometimes I find myself staring at the damage numbers instead of paying attention to anything else. As for gear, Lacrimosa ideally wants the Last Rose, her signature S-rank weapon, which increases both ATK and crit DMG based on the number of active DoT stacks. For cartridges, Diabolos S is the ideal choice because it allows her to ignore between 12% and 24% of the enemy's chaos resistance. For rune stats, you generally want to maintain roughly a 1-2 crit rate to crit damage ratio while prioritizing chaos DMG percent. Sakiri performs best with Good Boy's Grand Adventure, while Daffodil can comfortably run Youthful Fantasy. Both of those options are very F2P friendly, so there really isn't much reason not to build them. The biggest weakness of this team is the execution requirement. If your timing is off, if you hesitate during your quick swaps between Lacrimosa and Daffodil, or if your rotations become messy, your entire DPS window can fall apart. I've had runs where I played so badly that I just sat there staring at the screen, wondering what exactly went wrong. But when everything comes together and you execute the rotation correctly, this team delivers one of the most satisfying gameplay experiences the game currently has to offer. Team number 2, Scorch DoT, Lacrimosa, Sakiri, Adler, and Fadia, or Baikang. If team number 1 is the definition of high risk, high reward, then this team is more like high reward without having to remortgage your mental health. This is the team comp I usually recommend to players who want strong damage output without spending countless hours practicing quick swap mechanics. What makes this team so effective is the number of DoT sources operating at the same time. Lacrimosa applies Nightmare. Sakiri contributes her own DoT effects. Adler uses Evil's Bane to add another layer of DoT, and Baikang's ultimate provides an additional DoT effect that lasts for 12 seconds. Sakiri's passive increases damage by 25% for every active DoT effect on the target, up to a maximum of 4 stacks. With this team, you're almost always sitting at the maximum number of stacks. If you really stop and think about it, that means Sakiri alone can provide up to a 100% damage increase through her passive, which is honestly kind of ridiculous. Adler also brings valuable utility beyond his DoT damage by applying debuffs that reduce the enemy's ATK and Esper generation. Meanwhile, Fadia's Nova reaction can drain HP from enemies and provide healing for the team, giving this composition a level of sustain that pure Discord-focused teams often lack. The rotation is much less demanding compared to the Discord quick swap setup. You can play at a much more relaxed pace, make occasional mistakes, and still maintain strong performance. Despite being easier to pilot, the team remains fully capable of clearing high-end content consistently. This is usually the team I run whenever I want to farm efficiently without having to stay locked in and focused every second of the fight. Team number 3, Blossom Team. Lacrimosa, Sakiri, Nanalie, and Zero. Alright, this team is something completely different. If the first two teams are all about precision and reaction chains, then this Blossom team is all about volume, absolute chaos. Flowers exploding all over the screen, Blossom reactions constantly triggering, and enemies disappearing before they even have time to understand what happened. The core mechanic here revolves around Zero continuously generating Esper for the entire team, allowing Nanalie to use her ultimate much more frequently. Every time Nanalie uses her ultimate, the number of blossoms generated increases dramatically, and she also raises the maximum blossom cap to 6. Sakiri groups enemies together with Flux Prison, keeping everything packed into a single area. Then, as the blossoms detonate, they interact with Lacrimosa's DoT effects and trigger additional Scorch reactions. The end result is an AoE damage experience that feels like carpet bombing. Honestly, it's difficult to find another team in the game that can match this level of screen-wide destruction. In this composition, Lacrimosa functions more as an off-field damage dealer. She doesn't need to stay on the field constantly. Her main job is simply to maintain DoT stacks so the Blossom interactions can continue generating value. That makes the team significantly easier to play than the Discord setup from an execution standpoint. The trade-off, however, is that it isn't the strongest option for single-target boss fights. But whenever a stage is packed with multiple enemies, this is usually my first choice without even having to think twice about it. Team number 4, Mono Scorch, Lacrimosa, Sakiri, Daffodil, and Baikang. This team is for players who want to go all in on a single reaction and push it to its absolute limit. The entire team revolves around chaos and incantation interactions, meaning Scorch is essentially the only reaction you'll be focusing on. But in exchange, you gain an enormous number of Scorch sources operating simultaneously. The biggest challenge with this team is field time competition. Lacrimosa, Daffodil, and Baikang all want significant on-field time to maximize their damage output, which means you're constantly making decisions about who gets priority during each rotation. The quick swap requirements here are especially demanding. There's a specific technique where you perform normal attack 5 with Lacrimosa, immediately swap to Daffodil to utilize her Phantom Step skill, and then swap straight back to Lacrimosa within a very small timing window. I'll be completely honest, I failed that sequence more times than I care to admit, and spent several attempts feeling like I had the reaction speed of a goldfish. But when everything works correctly, the amount of Scorch stacking generated by 4 different sources at once creates some incredibly impressive burst damage. Unlike the first two teams, this composition doesn't have access to Nova or Discord reactions. Because of that, it sacrifices some flexibility in exchange for specialization. I generally only recommend this team if you're already comfortable with advanced quick swap gameplay and want a composition that simplifies reaction management by focusing almost entirely on maximizing Scorch uptime and damage.
Lacrimosa, angry.
Prolonged fight. Selfless, formless.
Take care. Ship change. I'll deliver this one myself. I can see you all. What you see is an illusion. Pretty lively. Here I am.
Ship change. Good work.
Take care.
Lacrimosa can't all go home early today.
Team number 5, Mono DoT, Lacrimosa, Sakiri, Adler, and Baikang. The final team on the list is easily the most durable and consistent setup among the top 5. It isn't the strongest team when it comes to burst damage, but it is arguably the most stable and reliable over long fights. The goal here is simple. Stack as many different DoT effects as possible on a single target at the same time. You have Nightmare from Lacrimosa. You have the DoT applied through Adler's Evil's Bane. You have Baikang's 12-second ultimate DoT. And then you have Sakiri amplifying all of it, providing up to a 100% damage increase once the maximum 4 DoT stacks are active. The beauty of this team is that it doesn't demand complicated execution. You don't need lightning-fast swaps. You don't need frame-perfect timing. You don't need to memorize complicated reaction chains. All you really need to do is keep every DoT effect active and make sure Sakiri maintains her maximum passive stacks. The main weakness of this composition is the lack of reaction-based burst damage. There is no Nova. There is no Discord. Because of that, against bosses with short vulnerability windows, the damage can sometimes feel slower than you might expect. However, for content that rewards sustained damage over long periods of time, this team is incredibly dependable. It may not produce the biggest damage screenshots, but it consistently delivers strong results with far less effort and much lower execution requirements than some of the more advanced compositions on this list.
Pretty bold of you.
Leave it to Lacrimosa. I heard your command! What's my turn?
Rest for a moment.
Lacrimosa. Lacrimosa, angry.
Ready to save the day! Who's wave? Ship change. Don't make me. I'll deliver this one myself.
Prolonged fight. Selfless, formless.
To summarize everything, if you want the strongest overall team and you're willing to invest time into learning advanced rotations, then Discord Quick Swap is the clear choice. If you want high damage without constantly stressing over execution, Scorch DoT is probably the best fit for you. If you love massive AoE damage and clearing entire waves of enemies as quickly as possible, then the Blossom team will absolutely satisfy you. If you prefer simplifying reaction management and going all in on Scorch damage, then Mono Scorch is the way to go. And if you enjoy a more consistent, low-pressure playstyle built around long-term sustained damage, Mono DoT will be your most reliable companion. Lacrimosa is honestly one of the most complex and rewarding DPS characters I've built in this game so far, and I hope today's video helped show you just how much potential she has when placed in the right team composition. If you found this video helpful, make sure to leave a like, and most importantly, hit that subscribe button right now. And let me know down in the comments which Lacrimosa team you're currently using. I read every single comment, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.